Over the past week, while the rest of us have been getting ready for Christmas and spending time with our family and friends, astronauts aboard the International Space Station have been doing some plumbing repairs. During the past week, they have made a series of 3 spacewalks to replace a module that controls the cooling system within the International Space Station. They were replacing a failed module with a spare. On today's News from Space, we have a 30-minute video of those spacewalks, so you can take a look and see what happened there. Here we go, the International Space Station spacewalks.
On UAA, switch power EV1 to 2 off OFF.
Okay, power EV1 off. Power EV2.
So our today's spacewalk has officially begun at 6:01 a.m. Central Time, 7:01 a.m. Eastern Time. Mike Hopkins and Rick Mastracchio now officially
EV1 and 2 LEDs. 4
underway
OFF.
for today.
4 LEDs, OFF. Okay, stand by.
So Rick Mastracchio there has made his way out. He's got the suit with the red stripe. Mike Hopkins making his way out here shortly. He's got the all-white suit.
And say again the distance to station starboard.
Less than half a meter.
So there's a good look at the actual pump module itself. You see both the fluid lines there in the middle and the electrical lines on either side of it. Tracy, let's talk about this for a second because you're very familiar with this work site. These quick disconnects can be a little bit tricky, can't they?
They certainly can. They are our largest quick disconnects on orbit. And when we did this task in 2010, those lines were pressurized up to about 360 psi, which made the operation a lot more difficult. We have since reduced the pressure for these tasks, the lesson learned there, to about 180.
And check EPL ingress 8 is tucked in.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
As we continue to take a look at Rick Mastracchio's helmet cam here, the crew getting this pump removal underway. They're just undoing some wire ties that Tracy, you and Doug both did back 3 years ago.
Yes, just basically wind the tethers for all 3 spool positioning devices together, just to
Keep it neat.
keep it neat. Yeah.
Okay, Doug, the wire tie is removed in my trash bag. I'll bring it home for you and give it back to you.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Rick.
It's demated.
Pull back on the release ring and demate. I see you got that.
Yep.
So now we're in 46 minutes into today's spacewalk. The first of these ammonia lines has been disconnected.
Not visible.
Forward way.
This is Mission Control Houston, 1 hour, 56 minutes into today's spacewalk. 2 of these ammonia lines have been disconnected, especially this bigger one that gave some problems back in 2010. But Rick Mastracchio and Mike Hopkins made quick work of it. He was talking about some snow that he saw. Now, that is frozen ammonia coming out of those lines. Obviously, they watch ammonia pretty closely. They did confirm that some of it did get on his suit. But, Tracy, let's talk about what they would do. I mean, there's a procedure to take care of that, right?
Yeah, when they... So what I imagine got on his suit was solid, and the solid does not penetrate the suit; it just bounces off. But for the just for the
Mating the QD, it's the big one, the M3 line. We're going to mate that one first.
just for the safety protocol, we'll do what's called a bake out, and they can be baking out during the time they're doing a task. It'll just be correlated to what the time would be if they were inside the crew lock. And then they'll do some testing once they get in the crew lock. This will be at the end of the end of the AVA.
So the last of the fluid disconnects has been removed from this pump module. So all of the ammonia lines have been disconnected at this point.
On the male and female QD for debris damage and ammonia crystals, and about like the M1 line on the ammonia crystals, Rick.
So what they will do is go ahead and begin the process of removing the electrical connectors from the failed pump. And then they will actually remove it and put it on what you will hear called a POA. This is basically just an attachment point, a temporary stowage location outside the station for pieces of hardware.
Okay, I'm ready, Doug.
So the crew is reporting to the ground teams that all the different electrical connectors have been removed from the failed pump itself. So coming up, they're going to be removing the pump, actually from where it has been mounted since 2010.
Visual on that.
Again, this pump weighs 780 pounds. It's about the size of a refrigerator.
And there's the second hole, Rick. I can see it. You need to come out about another 8 inches. Okay, let me try to do it. Hey, Koichi, station forward just 5 or 10 centimeters.
Good, station forward 10 centimeters. Here comes the motion. Arms in motion.
Copy.
This view on board the International Space Station as it flies 261 miles above the South Pacific Ocean gives you a pretty dramatic view here of exactly how big this pump is. You get a sense of just the sheer size of it. Rick Mastracchio still hanging on to it. Mike Hopkins there on the right-hand side helping. So Tracy, as we take a look at this, tell everybody what we're looking at.
Well, on the right side of the screen, you see what we're calling the POA, which is the receptacle. It basically duplicates the end of the robotic arm, and it's grabbing a hold of what's on the left side, which is the pump module that Rick, you see at the bottom left, is holding. And that adjustable grapple bar, the AGB, was attached to the pump module, and it is now the interface between the pump module and the POA that's holding it in place. And Koichi, the arm operator, is not only operating the arm to bring Rick and the pump module into the POA, but he also will switch screens and then control the POA itself and then activate the snares to wrap around the grapple fixture that is attached to the pump module, and it'll hold it secure in place.
Whenever you're working with equipment this big, I mean, obviously we've never been up there, but it looks like it'd be a little bit hard to kind of guide this stuff in whenever you're talking about equipment that's that big in nature. It's kind of hard to see.
Absolutely, and you can see where Rick is. His eyes are now looking right at a pump module. That's his view through his helmet camera you're seeing right there. He can't see the grapple fixture, and that's what Koichi is looking at through a camera that's mounted on the top side of the POA, and he can see an alignment pin that's helping him give directions to Rick, as well as his own inputs, Koichi's inputs into the arm to bring the pump module into the POA.
Yeah, looks like they got it secured, so
it does.
That's good news.
Nice job.
This is Mission Control Houston. We're now 5 hours and 9 minutes into today's spacewalk. What they're doing is pretty much cleaning up the activities for today. This should last about another 30 minutes, and that should end today's spacewalk. They were very far ahead of the timeline today. They did go ahead and get the pump module removed from where it was, where it had been over the last several years, and put up on this payload attachment point. That's where it will stay for the near future. And they did offer the crew the chance to go ahead and start doing some forward work on the new pump. All that was supposed to be done on the second EVA and the third EVA that are planned for Monday and Wednesday. But the crew deferred and said, we'll go ahead and take care of that on Monday. They're in no rush to go ahead and get that done today because there's plenty of time to do it on Monday. So this was kind of a good stopping point for the crew, sort of the first chapter of this spacewalk coming to a close as they got the old pump taken care of. So Rick Mastracchio, who is the lead spacewalker today, decided to go ahead and wrap up things, and they will go ahead and move on back to the Quest airlock as we watch.
Okay, guys, when you're ready, we have a go for egress. So, Hopper, we see that the hatch thermal cover is already open, and you have a go for crew lock egress.
Copy that. Go for egress. Let's go to work.
Okay, Hopper, as you're exiting, just remember the sharp edge on the port aft portion of the circular handrail.
Okay, yeah.
And our first view of Mike Hopkins as he begins to make his way out of the Quest airlock's crew lock section. Spacewalk officer Allison Bollinger reports we're running at the moment, at the outset of today's spacewalk, about 17 minutes ahead of the day.
2 safety tethers here, going to do an inspection.
Copy, Hopper.
pitching on the forward one.
Houston Station office ground 2 for Robo.
Go ahead, Koichi.
Okay, good morning, Aki. I'm at the robotics workstation, and I will start the step 1 of procedure 407 Alpha.
Copy your go through step 5, Koichi. Good morning.
Good morning. Go through to step 5.
It's like Christmas morning, opening up a little present here. Almost. Yeah. Okay, everything looks good in the bag. Nothing seems to be floating out. I see the 1.5-inch ammonia N2 vent tool. Got pocket label F, it looks like.
Perfect, Rick, and that's what we're expecting. And go ahead and stow that vent tool on your mini workstation as needed for translation.
And is your motion complete, Koichi? Here comes the sun. Comes the sun.
A signature shot from external cameras on the truss of the station as Rick Mastracchio moves down the starboard truss of the complex to join Mike Hopkins with sunrise just over the horizon, the International Space Station flying over the Pacific Ocean.
No problem. We got plenty of consumables.
Copy that, Wheels.
Copy.
And our limiting consumable is a battery on hopper at 835, so we're looking good, guys.
Copy.
Flying high over Peru, Mike Hopkins wielding the pump module, the spare pump, as he is being maneuvered into position by Koichi Wakata, operating the robot arm, the Canadarm2 from the robotics workstation inside the Destiny laboratory.
That would be awkward, yeah.
Just wraps around one of these handrails at the base of the frame, I guess, right? That's right. The middle, the long flap at the bottom wraps around, and I think there's some Velcro on the frame itself. I see it. Yeah. So if you're happy, I'll start heading back.
Okay, Hopper, the JOCAS is complete. You have a go to rotate the pump module.
Okay.
We copy that, Rick, and we copy your inventory. That looks like a good config. And we need to also grab Hopper safety tether.
Come over.
And we'd like you to attach that safety tether to your safety tether IRCM.
Hopkins is repositioning the pump module, the new spare, so that it is in the correct orientation for its installation in the starboard truss slot on the International Space Station. This places the quick disconnect connector points toward his head and the bolts toward his feet that he will be working on once it slides into place in its installation slot in Bay 1 on the S1 truss of the International Space Station.
Okay. All right. Koichi, are you with us?
I'm with you guys.
All right. Okay, you can come station aft.
Okay, copy. Station aft. Slow motion.
Mike, probably going to need you to pitch up a little, but let's just hold off on that. Raj.
Arms in motion.
Copy. Continue. Good motion.
Copy, continue.
Just hold that attitude, Mike. You look good. Raj, when you get closer, we'll maybe tweak it. Continue aft, Koichi.
Copy that, Rick.
Zach, why don't you get yourself lined up with the bolts? Okay.
15 centimeters, hopper.
Let's continue.
Continuing. You're going forward.
That's good.
Stopping.
Okay. Forward is complete. We can continue aft now.
Okay, I'm ready.
Oh, that's so much easier.
Okay, here comes the station aft motion.
Copy.
Arms in motion.
A very delicate process of sliding the spare pump onto these guide rails, making sure that pins and alignment guides are carefully positioned.
Stop motion.
Okay.
I believe it's got to go in maybe another inch or so, Mike. There you go. Perfect. And Houston, if you're there, have a pump module in position. So Koichi, GCA is complete.
And Koichi, we hear you on Spacegram 3. We copy.
Okay, yeah, roger, the GCA complete. And the brakes are on, hopper.
Copy.
Once all of the fluid connections are hooked up to the new pump, the spare, that was just installed a short time ago, some 35 pounds of ammonia will flow into the new pump. And over a period of hours later in the day, the system will be pressurized with nitrogen from a nitrogen tank assembly on the starboard side of the International Space Station that stores nitrogen at 3,000 pounds per square inch. Later tonight, somewhere in the 8:30 p.m. Central Time neighborhood, the entire pump will be activated, but there will be an operation called a bump test that will be executed right after the flow of ammonia begins into the new spare once all the fluid lines are connected. This bump test essentially is a brief exercise that will move the valves internal to the new pump and check out all of its systems in a brief preliminary test for the thermal systems officer here in Mission Control to prove that the new pump is alive and well. Bill Kowalczyk is the Spartan officer. That is his call sign of the thermal systems officer here in Mission Control for the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers under the direction of Flight Director Dina Cantella.
Stopping. Okay. Stopping. Good.
No, continue.
Be continuing at starboard. Arms in motion.
And stop motion.
Stopping. Okay, hopper brakes on.
EPA complete. Thanks, Richard.
In the true definition of the International Space Station, a Japanese astronaut operating a Canadian arm with the assistance of a Russian cosmonaut to help 2 American astronauts in the void of space conducting this spacewalk. A true international effort to restore full cooling capability to the International Space Station. This is Mission Control Houston. So after
you can see some of that flakes coming out now in the camera.
Yeah, we don't have your cameras right now.
Okay. And I still see some coming out.
Copy, Hopper.
It looks small snowflakes. Houston, we see snow. We see the snowflakes coming from the aft side forward. Looks like your vent is coming towards us. Ah, that's where it's coming from. Copy, Houston.
Copy that, Rick.
Yeah, from Margie. Yeah, they're just completely surrounding us now.
Copy, Rick. And we have no video, Rick, so we'll just take your continued description.
Okay. Okay, they're pretty good-sized particles, much bigger than anything we've ever seen. See that big one going by you, Mike? I do, and they're coming, look like they're coming inboard of the pump module, right all around the pump module, looks like. I can't see them everywhere, just where the light is, but they're hitting the wrist cluster of the SSRMS. They're enveloping Mike, probably enveloping me also. Yes, they are. Big chunks.
Copy.
1/4 inch diameter. Lots of little ones, some big ones.
This is Mission Control Houston. To quickly recap, after utilizing some ingenious techniques, Mastracchio and Hopkins were able to finally demate one of the fluid lines hooked up to a jumper box, an interim box to maintain the flow of ammonia through the cooling system in a liquid state during the swap out of the old faulty pump module for the new spare that was installed earlier today during the spacewalk.
Doesn't seem to be sticking, though. Yeah, it seems to be bouncing all over the place, yeah. I agree.
At the time that this bulky fluid line was finally demated from the jumper box, the crew noted some ammonia flakes emanating from the female side of the quick disconnect interface. Some of those flakes might have bounced off their suits. We'll determine that a bit later. The flight control team now in the process of determining whether or not to hook up this particular line to the new spare. It appears that we will.
Okay, guys, we have a go to continue with just a piece of that forward white band visible. Our next step is mating the M4 to the pump module. So we're working to get in position to mate that QD.
Thermal Systems Officer here reports no leakage through any of the 4 fluid lines now hooked up to the spare pump module.
Nice work, guys. And guys, next step is to finger start the P clamp on the M4 line.
Okay, am I cleared to release my rep off the spit?
Affirmative.
Okay.
Yeah, you can take your red off there.
Are you ready for? Twitch, are you ready for GCA?
I'm ready, Hopper.
Okay. We should go station starboard, about 20 centimeters.
Station starboard, 20 centimeters.
And the ingress 8 is clear.
Here comes the 20 centimeter motion to starboard.
The crew was exposed to some dissipation of flakes of ammonia from the female side of the quick disconnect connection line from that M4 line. And so they inspected one another a short time ago during a loss of signal period. They reported no apparent ammonia on each other's suits, but because of the exposure, the flight rules call for them to maintain a bake out, if you will, to enable any residual ammonia to dissipate from their suits before they re-enter the International Space Station later today.
You have a go on J4.
J4 is connected.
All of the early indications suggest that the newly installed pump is in good shape. We should have no issues with its pressurization and its activation later today, which will involve the spin-up of an impeller to begin exercising all of the valves and the internal mechanisms of the pump.
Connected over center. Houston, you got yourself a new pump module. Congratulations.
And all 5 electrical connections are now mated, so the crew breezed through that activity. All 5 electrical connections have been made to the new pump.
Copy. We're happy inward.
Arms in motion.
And that's a good motion.
Okay, good motion.
And stop motion.
Okay.
And station forward another 20 centimeters.
Jump forward to 20 centimeters.
So the only thing I see kind of a loose tool is that long duration tie down tether by Mike's left hand, Raj. Other than that, I don't see any tools other than the fish stringer and a feeder cart, bunch of bags at the feeder cart.
Yeah, go ahead and grab that long duration tie down tether, Rick, and put on either the fish stringer or back at the feeder cart.
Thanks, Hucky.
Looks like you went shopping with all these bags in here. One last look. You'll be back. Beautiful sight. Houston, from the airlock, we'd just like to say thanks to all the great folks for doing all this hard work to get the space station back up and running.
No, thank you guys.
It's
the best Christmas ever. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that fantastic work. Merry Christmas to everybody. It took a couple of licks to get her done, but we got it.
Okay, Copy that. Hopper, go ahead and connect your SCU.
I got to get the thermal cover here.
Copy that.
Words of congratulations from Mike Hopkins and the reply from spacecraft communicator Doug Wheelock.
Absolutely fascinating. It's a complete marvel what technology has allowed mankind to do. That's all for News from Space today. I'll see you again next time.